Alright, you need to be able to write quadratic equations in vertex form if you're giving the vertex and a point, given a table, or given a graph. So these are going to be the notes that go along with this. I'm going to go kind of fast, so if you need to pause or rewind and watch again, please feel free to do that. So step 1, you have to identify the vertex. So on step 1, that's already done for us because they give it to us. Remember that vertex is H and K. So, and it's going to go through the point 2, 12. So step 1's done, we got the vertex. Step 2, we need to substitute that into the equation. So the vertex form is already given to us. So we're just substituting in our H and our K. So if it's the opposite, remember, of your H is always the opposite in your equation. So if it's a -4, this will be a +4, because remember that would be a double negative and that turns to a positive. And then the 3 stays the same. Okay, so that's step 2. Step 3 says to use any point in the table or graph, this should say, to find A. Well, it gives us the point, so we don't have to find it. So this would be your X and your Y, and we're going to substitute that into step 3. So I'm going to take this and rewrite it. So this is my X and my Y, so 2 is going to go in for X, and 12 goes in for Y. Okay, now I'm going to solve for step 4, which got deleted up here. I think there was a text box that kind of got covered up. Okay, so this one's going back a while. We had practiced this in class. You need to take order operations, and this whole thing can go right in your calculator. Parentheses 2 plus 4 parentheses squared should get 36. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way. 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 to the power of 2 is 36. So it's A times 36. Remember, we write it as 36A. So that's gone. Drop down the plus 3. Drop down the 12. Now we're going to solve for A. We want to get A by itself. Subtract 3 on both sides. Divide both sides by 36. And then A equals 0.25 or 1/4.
I've been arguing my lunch today.
Okay, now you need to plug your A into this equation to get your final equation. So usually you're going to see it as a fraction. And that's your final answer. So step 5 is to rewrite. Oh. And then step 6 would be to check on your calculator. So the way you check, go to y equals, type in what you got. Okay, type in what you got, and then you go to the table. Oh, I graphed it. Go to the table. And your vertex should be at -4, 3, which it is because you see the symmetry. And then 0.212 should be in your table. And it is. Example 2. This time you have to identify the vertex from the table. And remember, your vertex is not always the middle, but it's where you see the symmetry start happening. So it's the turning point. So it goes from 13 down to 1, and then down to -3, and then back up to 1 and 13. So your vertex, or your H and your K, is -2, -3. So you plug that into step 2. Opposite of -2 is +2, and then your K stays the same. Okay, for step 3, when we rewrite it over here, you pick any point from the table to plug in for your X and Y. I'm going to pick 0.013. So 0 is going to go in for X, 13 is going to go in for Y. Okay, so now we solve for A for step 4. order of operations tells me to do all of this first. 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 to the power of 4. 2 is 4. So 13 is equal to a times 4, or 4a. Okay, now I need to solve for a. Add 3 to both sides. Divide by 4, and a is equal to 4. Okay, so now I'm going to put that back into the equation over here for step 5. Okay, so I rewrite that same equation except for a is 4. Alright, now on step 6, go ahead and plug it into your calculator, and when you go to your table, it should match up and you know you are correct. So go ahead and pause and do that, and we'll talk about the third example. Alright, example 3, you're given a graph, so you have to tell the vertex. Reminder, the vertex is here. Be careful on this graph because it doesn't count by ones, it's counting by twos. So I'll give you a little bit of time to identify the vertex. Okay, your vertex coordinates -2, -16. Let's go ahead and plug that in. Opposite of -2 is +2. I know all these examples turn to a positive, but that doesn't always happen. Okay, so we're not done yet. We have to be able to solve for a. In order to solve for a, we need to find another point. Okay, the other points on the graph that you could use, the easy ones to use, your y-intercept is at 0, -12, or we could have used 2, 0, or we can use -6, 0. I'm going to go ahead and use the y-intercept. So for step 3, when I rewrite the equation, I'm going to plug in 0 for x and -12 for y. Okay, by now, getting the hang of solving for a. Simplify that. 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 to the second power is 4, so 4a. Add 16. And divide both sides by 4. And a equals 1. So when you write the equation, if a is 1, you just leave no number in front. So it would look like this. Go ahead and check it in your calculator, and this graph should match up. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit distorted because of the scale, but those 4 points should be in there.